Well, something we were talking about too before we got on here, Brett, was the Chromexcel lottery, and we were discussing. Nick
I
hates
hate
this
that.
term.
I get it, but I hate it. Yeah.
Well, so along those same lines, I have enough understanding to know like what the looseness is and that loose break is on the Chromexcel.
And by loose, you mean like the pedaling typically in the vamp, like over your toes, is a lot more pronounced and coarse than you would like to see, or many would like to see.
So looseness is, I would call it, is when your toe flexes, you tend to see it most obviously there, where there's this delamination of the grain layer starting to separate from the fibers below, and it gets this little bit of like a pipiness, or like a little bit more of like a tumbled kind of look, but just in sort of a line, and that's what can be called as a loose break. And
So many industry leather terms that only apply to leather and nothing else, and make it so hard to talk about.
pipiness, yeah.
There's so, and they just make up words. But anyway,
Or do you get perfectly tight Chromexcel every time?
he's shifting in his chair. He's uncomfortable with the question.
No, I mean, it is what it is. It's not just Chromexcel. I mean, every single leather is the same. I mean, it's just, I mean, I don't even know how to answer that. The problem is I don't know if this is a retailer to consumer problem, because it's not a problem from a manufacturer between the leather maker, tanner and manufacturer. It's more from once it's been wholesaled on, the retailer then is sort of using terminology that may or may not be correct. And so, it's just like, it's like this new trend of Teacore, and it's like Teacore. It's like, holy fuck, guys. Like,
Chromexcel has been Teacore since 1918 when we developed it.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's like, that's great, but like there's a misinformation from the retailer to sell the product, because I don't think that the retailers really know how to sell the product other than these choice words that the consumer wants. So they're basically giving the consumer what they want rather than not what they want, which is actually the knowledge to know exactly what's happening. And, one is a lot easier than the other, because, you may lose the customer, but at least you're telling sort of the transparent story of what, a tight break is versus a loose break. And, there's a million variables on just not even cutting the leather. It's like, am I making a Goodyear welted, or am I making a stitch down? Like it's not only the leather. It's like, once it's in my factory, how am I manipulating it to like before it even goes on the foot? Did I already loosen it up a bit, or did I so there's, we just do what we can and cut the best parts, and, and it's just, it is what it is. I mean, but it's not just a Chromexcel lottery. I mean, it's literally a leather lottery. And I would say that it only gets worse when you get into the veg, because the veg just is not as tight. I mean, it's just, unless you're using actual belting leather or something that's just like a fucking board. Otherwise, if you look at any sort of veg leather, I mean, it's just doesn't have the same properties, and it doesn't, I guess it just doesn't, and Nick knows, I guess, I don't know. So I'm just making stuff up, but like the grain just doesn't get as tight with veg, because you're not introducing an actual chemical in there to allow it to sort of firm up. So I feel like veg is great to a point, but if you're going to be in the rain and you're going to be outdoors, you probably don't want that. You probably want some sort of chrome so that it's going to keep the shape and retain, not bag out. And, I mean, especially when you're paying a huge amount of money for this stuff. I mean, that's the problem that I have right now. Is you look at like the Patina Thunderdome, which is great, but like these dudes are buying stuff that, they're working hard to buy shoes, and then they're beating the shit out of them, not naturally. And it's like, I get it. If you win the prize, then that's like obviously the lottery, because you can win a lot of things. But, it's just, just because something lasts a long time doesn't mean that it's well made, because I could make a leather, I could make a boot with cheaper leather that's probably, and I can reduce all of the detailed work, any sort of binding and special trimming in my, use a Rapid E instead of a high-speed stitcher, and I can make it different and it will probably last longer, but that doesn't mean that it's better, because to me, better is the quality and the detail. I'm more looking at it from like a European philosophy rather than this North American ruggedness. I'm going to ship ticket and it has to stand up. It has to be, the Filson bag has to be 100-year guarantee. It like that is that, I don't think that's fair, and so it's just, and it doesn't equal quality. Like, it just, you wouldn't take the Ferrari off road. So like, or like the Lamborghini 4x4, you're not going to drive that fucker down, down wherever off road.
That makes me wonder, who do you feel like, because I'm looking at your brand's history and the story that you told about the different generations of filling different needs in the market. When you see the market now, who do you feel like Viberg is for? You trying to make it more about that European sort of a little bit more formal vibe?
I mean, I think there's a difference here. I mean, I think I am Brett Viberg, but I'm not Viberg brand. Nick Horween is not Horween leather. We're the brand is bigger than us. We don't have control of the ship. Unfortunately, it's for Horween, it surpassed a long time ago. Yes, they can stop making stuff, and they can't manipulate how the user uses the product, or how the shoe factory or whoever that is dictates how it's going to be produced into something. They can stop selling to them, but the point is that once it leaves your hands, you don't have say in it anymore. So the only thing that's in your control is within this little box. And so if I've got all these machines that I think are unique and special, and I'm going to do my products a different way because that's how I view quality, then that's what I'm going to do. Once it leaves here, then, it's not up to me anymore.